My in-laws are claiming something absolutely insane, guys. Listen to this. They're saying that my late husband, who by the way passed away at the age of 31 from a massive heart attack, which has more red flags than you could ever imagine, they're trying to tell me that he left everything to them, my mother-in-law, sister-in-law, and father-in-law. I think it's ridiculous, and I know something's up. I'm going to get to the bottom of it one way or another. I really want to know the truth, but so much is at stake. I could lose something very precious to me if my theory is wrong, but I need to get the truth so I can rest easy, and also be a good parent. After all, I'm the only person my daughter has had after her dad tragically passed away. I don't believe this, due to so many things that I'll tell you about in a bit. But, before doing so, let me take you back a month ago. I kissed my husband Alvin goodbye, before he drove off to meet his brother at their holiday house. They planned to go fishing on their boat and also meet with some clients. He and his brother Aaron were always together and spent a lot of time together. Nothing pointed at the disaster that was about to happen. I spoke to him on Friday night and Saturday morning, but did not hear from him again that evening. Saturday night was spent spamming him with messages, but I figured his phone ran out of battery. When I messaged his brother, the messages did not go through either, so I called his brother's girlfriend. She informed me that they had a busy day, but she had called him earlier. The next morning I get a call from my sister-in-law. She needed me to meet with her but begged me not to bring my daughter with me. She refused to tell me what the meeting was about, but it was at their family house. When I asked about my husband, she claimed that I would meet him there. So when I got there, my mother-in-law was bawling, and everyone looked somber. They were all wearing black, indicating that somebody had passed away. In my mind, it never went to my husband. I mean, whose mind would? Once they sat me down, they told me that last night they received a call from my brother-in-law. My very healthy 31-year-old husband had suddenly jumped overboard and had not resurfaced. He'd seemed upset before they went out on the boat, so Aaron suspected that he ended his own life. That was the first theory of many that led me to be suspicious about what happened that weekend. Shortly after, Aaron claimed that my husband drowned because the water was a bit wild that afternoon. Either way, they did not find my husband's body until it washed on shore that morning. Aaron and my sister-in-law's husband had just come back from identifying my husband. What did Aaron mean? That my husband had possibly taken his own life? Worst of all, my sister-in-law had the nerve to suggest that we were having marital problems and that this was why my husband threw himself overboard. Well, we had arguments like any other couple, but never ones that would make a person harm themselves. No, something was very suspicious, and I was going to find out what. As the arrangements for the funeral went ahead, I noticed that nobody was speaking about an autopsy. They had all reached the consensus that he passed away in a freak accident. I could not accept that and started asking around the family about the autopsy, and get this. Apparently my mother-in-law refused to allow one, especially since it was clear how he passed away. She felt it would be disrespectful to his memory. Everyone tried to shut me up and prevent me from asking for one because it would break my mother-in-law's heart. In addition, Aaron suspected that my husband might have had things he did not want anyone to know, and an autopsy would make his body an open book. He basically tried to scare me into not asking for one, but I was no fool. I made a lot of noise, and that autopsy was done, leaving me with a lot of questions. See, according to the autopsy, my husband had a heart attack and then drowned. How could a very healthy 31-year-old with no previous heart condition suddenly suffer a heart attack? They did not find any substance in his body, not even a drop of alcohol. I was not shocked that they did not find anything in his body. My husband and I lived a very clean and healthy lifestyle. His brother had been trying to scare me into believing he took something, which upset me, but that was wrong. I knew my husband and I trusted him. The autopsy proved nothing further, so we went ahead with the burial. It's been a month since this happened, and it feels like it happened yesterday. The worst part was having to explain to our 5-year-old daughter that she would never see her dad again. She seems to understand the concept, but she's not coping. At least we're here for each other, since I'm not on good terms with Alvin's family. Ever since the will reading, I've been estranged from his brother's family. I know that someone forged that will, or they did not use the most recent one. How could my husband have left everything to his family, and basically nothing for me and our daughter? It does not make sense to me, and I question the authenticity of the will. The family refuses to believe the will was forged and has forbidden me from investigating. Red flag. Apparently, I'm making a mountain out of a molehill, and this is an argument between us. And if it gets out, it will affect the company image. This is the very same company that my husband was about to become the CEO of. Basically, he and his siblings have shares in the company, but somebody recently sold theirs to him. He had been working at the company for many years, but his uncle was the CEO. With the uncle retiring, the role was going to go to one of them. A few days before he went fishing, he was informed that he would be the next CEO. According to my husband, no one else knew about this. I know that's what he said. But I cannot help but suspect his brother found out and wanted the role for himself. His brother has always been kind and helpful toward him, but I've always doubted his sincerity. I warned my husband about him a long time ago, but he laughed it off. Now his brother and sister get to divide his shares between them. One of them is going to become the CEO, and there's no legacy left for my daughter. That's what makes me the most upset, the fact that my daughter got nothing. Apparently, he had not updated his will in many years, and my husband was not that careless, so I find it very hard to believe. Everybody says that I'm being greedy and making a mountain out of a molehill. Besides, I'm getting the life insurance payout in a couple of weeks, so why am I worried about the money? It's not about the money, but about my daughter's heritage. I want to contest the will and argue its validity, especially since his lawyer has been ignoring me. He's ignored my messages and refuses to let me into his office, which is very suspicious. When my husband was alive, he was always very friendly with me. Tell me that I'm not going insane, because this feels like a conspiracy that they're all in on. What makes things even worse is that they've started threatening me. They claim that if I do not let things go, they will get custody of my daughter, and I'll never see her again. I don't want to have a legal battle for my daughter's custody, but I also feel lied to. I'm confident that I won't lose my daughter, but who knows what dirty tricks they have up their sleeve. I don't trust them anymore, nor the lengths that they would go to get what they want. They've been acting very shady, and they all have a motive for hurting my husband. The only person I don't think would hurt him is my mother-in-law, but she's in deep grief. I've been forbidden from seeing her because apparently talking to me makes her feel worse. It feels like I'm fighting a losing battle. Should I risk it all for the truth? Or let it go so my husband can rest in peace? Maybe one day the truth will come out, and I won't have to lift a finger. But that is wishful thinking, since the world does not work that way. People get away with doing bad things all the time and rarely get punished. Who am I to think that this will be any different? Update 2 months later. I finally got the smoking gun. Who would have thought that I would find it in the place that I did? I knew that I was not crazy. Now it's time to get justice. But you know the best part? They have no idea that I'm coming. I took your advice and pretended to let things go. Over the past couple of months, I've been investigating my husband's last days. While his phone was damaged beyond repair, I still had access to his laptop and iPad. There were multiple correspondences with his uncle preparing him for the role of CEO. But then there were some very vague warnings from his uncle. He was told to never tell anyone that he was being prepped for the role and to be careful of who he kept close. My husband also spoke about strange things happening and being scared that somebody was following him. He spoke about increasing security, which makes sense because a few weeks before he passed, he increased security around the house. He also called me more often to check on me. I should have asked more questions back then, but I trusted him so much. If I could go back right now, I would ask a lot more questions. But it's too late. My investigation had at least led me to some answers, but in the most unexpected place. A couple of days ago, I was packing up my daughter's toys when I stepped on something hard. When I checked, it was a teddy bear she slept with every night that her dad gave her some weeks before passing. She's very attached to it and does not even let me wash it. It seemed there was something hard inside the teddy bear, which I found strange. Just to confirm that it was not a choking hazard, I opened it, and after digging around for a bit, I found something. It was none other than a USB drive. Immediately, I inserted it into my computer, because duh, and it turned out to be encrypted. I tried out a couple of combinations, and luckily my daughter's birthday worked like a charm. Inside the USB were two files, labeled 1 and 2. The first file was a video which clearly showed my husband's face. Seeing his face was such a gut punch that I did not dwell too much on my emotions. He said a lot in the video, but here's what you need to know. His real will was on the flash drive, and anything else that had been presented was fake. He said that if anything happened to him, I had to show that video in a court of law. The video would be confirmation that he had been taken out. He expressed that he was being followed around and was worried, unsure if it was business rivals or his own family. So in the event that something happened to him, or his will was tampered with, he hid the real will in the teddy bear, hoping one day I'd find it. I wish I had found this earlier, but there's no use lamenting over it. I have the evidence I need, that his will was tampered with. I've sent an email to his lawyer demanding a meeting, otherwise I'm going to the cops and he'll lose his license. Not long after, he sent me a time to meet him at his office, because now he knows he's in a lot of trouble, or that I found out something. I'm going to grill him and let you know what I found. I have a feeling he knows exactly what happened to my husband and will help me get justice. In addition, he'll ensure his proper last wishes are adhered to. I'm beyond relieved that I was not losing my mind all along. Update 2 days later. I've just come back from my meeting with my husband's lawyer, and I'm bouncing off the walls due to the anxiety that I'm feeling. I have to keep myself together. I mean, I'm so close. I know I am. I'm just scared that what I have is not enough and will only make things worse for me. Maybe you'll be able to help me decide when the right time to involve the law would be. I feel like right now is the perfect time, but that's not the consensus. You'll understand what I mean in a bit. My husband's lawyer finally graced me with his presence after a month of ignoring me, and you can imagine how angry I was once faced with him. I cut straight to the chase and asked where the real will was. Of course he acted dumb, but I did not have patience and told him that if he did not want his deeds plastered all over the local newspaper the following day, he would tell me the truth. Surely whatever they paid him would not be enough to sustain him once he got disbarred, right? He tried to keep his composure, but I could tell that he was nervous. I'll give him credit. He tried to lie to me, but I saw straight through it. Eventually, I got tired of the cat and mouse game. So I showed him the copy of the will and played him the video where my husband basically confirmed that somebody was after his life. The poor man turned pale as everything fell apart around him. He was soon stuttering, trying to come up with a convincing lie. I told him that I was not going to entertain any more lies and I wanted to see the real will. It seemed he finally understood that he did not have any choice, so he took it out. He was trembling by then, begging me not to ruin his career. I told him that I could not promise that to him, but if he helped me out, he could avoid jail time. Surely being able to be with his family was worth more than keeping the secrets of the perpetrators. I told him to think very carefully about it, but also warned him not to give them a heads up. If he told them, I was going to go scorched earth on him. Surely he did not want his children visiting him behind bars. He was trembling by now, and his head seemed to be going 100 miles an hour, which did not garner any sympathy from me. My husband trusted him, and this was how he repaid him, by forging the will and helping those people take away what was rightfully my daughter's. Well, thankfully the lawyer decided that his freedom was worth so much more than the money he'd been paid to commit the crime. He told me that he was very sorry and had been unable to be in the same room as me due to guilt. Once it was said and done, he felt so guilty and wanted to go back on helping them change the will. He said he never wanted to hurt us, but he really wanted the money. Basically, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law came to him and made him change the will and destroy the original one. He destroyed a copy but never the original. He said that he kept it as an insurance plan, in case he needed something from them one day. He showed it to me, and sure enough it matched the scanned document I found on the flash drive. And that's it, the final confirmation I needed, with his testimony and also an offer. He promised me that he was going to hand over all the evidence of their conspiring and turn state's witness if I vouched for him to get a light punishment. Well, I hate him for what he did to my husband, but he's not who I want. I want my husband's siblings, who did not even think twice about sacrificing him for money. But what do we do next? Turn all the evidence over to the police, or wait till we have more damning evidence? He wants to investigate more, but a part of me does not trust him. What if he warns them that I'm coming for them, and then they clean up after themselves? As you can see, it's the most difficult decision I've ever made in my life. Guys, I'm nervous, I'm excited, and worried about what's coming next. Victory is close, I can feel it. But why does this feel too good to be true? Why does it feel like I'm missing something? Guys, let me sleep on it. Update 3 months later. I've done it. I've slayed the dragon. The court case is pretty much done, and all that's left is sentencing. They've tried everything to turn the tide, but have failed, and my prayers have been too strong. I admit it's been draining, but it's all worth it. I'm so glad that I did not give up, even though they put so many obstacles in my way. Here are some highlights from the past 3 months. I did not trust my husband's lawyer, so I kept him on a need-to-know basis for a couple of weeks. We compiled all the evidence, and then got a detective involved in the case. Greg's testimony and his financial statements proved that he had been paid for something, which was enough to justify investigating. Once the cops got involved, several things were discovered, such as the fact that my brother-in-law was captured on CCTV buying medication at the pharmacy that he did not need. They were able to find out what the medication was, and it turned out to be used to treat people with a heart condition. Neither my brother-in-law nor Alvin had heart problems, so why would he buy something like that? Well, it turns out that when administered in large doses on a healthy individual, it can actually cause cardiac arrest. Now that they had a motive as well as a possible murder weapon, they took him in for questioning, and eventually his sister was brought in too. And they had enough evidence to go to trial. Of course, they pleaded not guilty and even accused me of murder, claiming I wanted the money. They used the fight that we had over the will to try to pin everything on me. Unfortunately for them, that was not enough to make me a suspect. And in addition, I was not the one caught buying the medication. Also, Greg was able to prove beyond reasonable doubt that they had paid him off so he could change the will. This went on for a while, and every day I got more frustrated. I just wanted them to confess. I mean, how could they stand there and not shed a tear for what they had done to their brother? What was worse was that my mother-in-law believed them. She claimed her kids would never harm each other, and that this was all a money grab conspired by me. I later found out that if they were found guilty, then they would forfeit their shares, and the shares would go to my daughter, since she was the only heir left. They, and any offspring they had, would essentially be cut off financially, and God forbid that happened on my mother-in-law's watch. She made it very clear that she would rather they were found not guilty, and I was blamed for everything, than let me have the shares. Since my daughter is not of age, I would be acting on her behalf until then, and the thought just hurt my mother-in-law too much. It didn't matter that I was married to her son and actually had a family with him. They saw me as an outsider who was trying to ruin their family. They even tried to guilt-trip me into dropping everything. But I stood up for myself, even when they claimed they could have my daughter taken away. I told them to go ahead and try, because if they did, it would be an admission of their guilt, and you best believe I would use it against them in court. They failed to prevent me from taking the stand, and tomorrow I'll take the stand, and I believe my testimony will put them behind bars for good. I feel so happy that my husband will finally rest in peace, and my daughter will get what is rightfully hers. Guys, please wish me luck. I can't sleep thinking of how everything's going to go. I'm overthinking it, and all I need to do is tell the truth. Final update 2 months later. Oh boy, guys, I messed up. All right, and I'm finding it hard to forgive myself. Everybody around me is telling me how strong I am, how well I'm doing, But they have no idea that I'm falling apart. They have no idea that I'll never forgive myself for not being strong when it counted the most. I was a wreck in court. Their defense lawyer tore me to pieces and made me look like I was grasping at straws. Worst of all, she made me lose my composure. My lawyer had to call for a break after she made it seem like I cared about nothing more than the money and not parenting my daughter. Everything crashed around me, and I didn't want to return to the stand, but my lawyer told me that I could not let them win, that my testimony was the final nail in the coffin. I understood what she was saying, but I was so tired. I never got the time to deal with my grief because of the case. And what if I've been a bad mother all along and did not even realize it? They really got to my head, and I was not okay. Luckily, how they treated me on the stand did not sway the jury in their favor. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law were found guilty and sentenced to 20 years in a federal penitentiary. Greg did not get any jail time, since he did not know that they had killed my husband. However, his career is on the line, and he's currently fighting for it. At least he still has his freedom, and he actually got off scot-free. He told me that during the trial, they offered him more money to turn on me, but he refused. His turning on me would have probably caused a mistrial or let them walk free, so I'm glad he did not do that. He was so sorry for helping them in the first place and hoped my husband would forgive him. He said he had been thinking of how his kids would live without him if it was discovered that he lied in court, and there was enough to prompt him to finally tell the truth. He told me that this actually happened a couple of weeks into the investigation, which explains why he had been acting so strange. So it turns out that the bad feeling I had was a premonition of what was to come. Maybe in some alternate universe he actually took the deal, and they all buried me. Thoughts like that keep me up at night, but guys, I'm just trying. I'm honestly trying to push them down. I should stop being scared of how things would have turned out, because I have a company to run now. Me and my daughter now have the majority of the shares in the company. My mother-in-law still has her shares though, but they are not a lot. You best believe that she hates the idea that I have so much deciding power. I've been balancing this, my job, and parenting, and honestly something has to give. I'm not going to send my daughter off to boarding school or hire someone to take care of her part-time. So it's either I quit my job or hire someone to take over my duties at the company. That way, I'll have minimal interaction with my in-laws. I can't stand the looks that I get at the office. I'm seen as the person who ruined everything, as if I sent them harm. Sent Alvin harm. I'm pretty sure that my mother-in-law is encouraging this, and she's trying to make work a hostile environment for me, so I'll stop coming in. She also thinks I'm going to consider her offer to buy my shares, as if I have a strong urge to run her out of this company and erase every single trace of her. I can remake it in the image of my husband and daughter if I need to. All traces of my brother-in-law and sister-in-law would be gone from here. It would be like they never existed. Should I do this, or would it just make me the bad guy for erasing their memory? Let me know in the comments what you would do.